I took the supermarket flyers from the windowsill. I threw the day-old tea from the cup. Packed up the photo album Matthew had made, memories of a life that's been loved. Took the get-well-soon cars and stuffed animals. Poured the old ginger beer down the sink. Dad always told me, don't you cry when you're down. But Mum, there's a tear every time that I blink. Oh, I'm in pieces, it's tearing me up. But I know a heart that's broke is a heart that's been loved. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. When God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah, you're home. Fluffed the pillows, made the bed, stacked the chairs up. Folded your nightgowns neatly in a case. John said he'd drive, then put his hand on my cheek and wiped a tear from the side of my face. And I hope that I see the world as you did, 'cause I know a life with love is a life that's been lived. So I'll sing hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. When I fell down, you'd be there holding me up. Spread your wings as you go. And when God takes you back, He'll say hallelujah, you're home. Hallelujah. You were an angel in the shape of my mum. You got to see the person I have become. Spread your wings and I know that when God took you back, He said hallelujah, you're home.
Normally I'd start with an introduction of who I am, but today it's more, Joe, what the bloody hell have you done this for? I could still picture Joe, 95, giving them buggery in the corridors of the nursing home, more so than she does now. But it's not to be, and of all the phone calls, that was one I certainly wasn't expecting. So welcome. My name's Brian Walsh. On behalf of Joe's family, I thank you for being here today. This service is to commemorate the life of Joe and acknowledge the impact and influence on ourselves and the community in general. The reason for the format of the funeral arrangements today is to reflect more closely her life and her values. We're here today to acknowledge the passing of Jo and extend our deepest sympathy to all who mourn her death. To Dennis, Keith, Corey, Michael, Troy, Sean, Taryn, Rebecca and Chloe, who have lost their mother and their stepmother. To Brian, who has lost a partner. But to all of you here who have lost a relative or a friend. I'd like to start the service by asking Talia Mueller to step forward to read a verse chosen by the family called "Pardon Me for Not Getting Up" in memory of Jo.
Oh dear, if you're reading this right now, I must have given up the ghost. I hope you can forgive me for being such a still and unwelcoming host. Just talk amongst yourselves, my friends, and share a toast or two, for I am sure you will remember well how I love to drink with you. Don't worry about mourning me. I was never easy to offend. Feel free to share a story at my expense, and we'll have a good laugh at the end.
Thank you, Talia. It's easy to forget at times, but family and friends are the most important thing in the world. In this context, family could mean your mother, your father, your siblings, your spouse, your grandparents, your aunts, uncles or cousins. But for some, it's simply those whom you share unconditional love. That unconditional love is evident when you look at Jo's coffin. The white coffin was chosen with Jo not so much for purity, same as Graham. It was chosen so the kids could write on it and the messages would stand out.
She was a saint.
Oh yeah, you must know a different Jo. She was a beautiful individual. The pictures and messages of love and endearment drawn on the coffin by Jo's grandchildren are one of the best tributes to a woman we will all miss. And they've done a wonderful job. Now, you might not all get a chance to read those comments, but Bill, the video guy, has recorded those, and when he edits the thing, you'll have a chance to read them if you like. With family and friends beside and behind you, life can be wonderful. For 62 years, Jo lived and loved the same as all of us here. She attended school to learn. She found gainful employment in many roles. She played and she danced and she laughed her way through life with gay abandon. And she lived her life on her own terms and followed her own path through the world. But just because life can be wonderful does not mean that it's fair. It's not fair that Jo has had her life cut short. It's not fair that the world has been robbed of Jo's presence. And it's definitely not fair that her family and friends must now go on without her. Grief is very real. It can begin early in life with the loss of a pet, a stolen bike, or the death of a loved one. Its sting is unique. In his book, A Grief Observed, C.S. Lewis relates to the feeling of grief as he watched his wife's slow death from cancer. The opening words of the book are, "Nobody ever told me it would be like this." Grief's impact is universal. It stalks every home and knocks on every door. The rich and poor of every race in every nation know the reality of grief and tears. The sudden death has robbed us of the opportunity to say our goodbyes to Jo. Her premature departure means that our shared future is no longer there. And the grief of losing Jo leaves a gaping hole in our hearts that only time can heal. Grief can hide under many masks, but it must be exposed and guarded against. It can show as feelings of guilt or anger. It can show as waves of depression. It can be buried in a flurry of busyness or activity. Grief can even be denied or postponed. But eventually it must be handled. We should try to handle our grief by remembering. Your loss must be reviewed. Hang on to your grief long enough to allow its full effects to settle on your soul. Some members of our society will say, move on, fix it quick. But historically, people took time to grieve, for grief is the natural outlet for dealing with our sorrow and pain. Remember, cherish your memories of Jo. Tears of joy will come, as well as tears of sadness. And we can only begin to move on when we understand that grief is the price we pay for the ability to love. For grief and love are two emotions that are absolutely inseparable. They are like the two sides of the same coin. Grief does not exist except where there has been love. But similarly, love does not exist except that in loving we undertake to pay for all the joys and privileges in the experience of grief and parting. None of us know when that's going to be. For some, it is sooner. For some, it is later. But inevitably, there is a price to pay. I think it's true that we don't get anything for nothing. Everything has its price. And grief is the price we pay for the privilege of love. The memories of Jo you have, as a relative or a friend, will always be there. And there would be no pleasure, no sorrow in your hearts today if yesterday you had not known the pleasure of Jo's presence in your life. And I would now ask Jo's partner Brian to step forward and tell us more of what Jo's presence in our lives meant.
To all that don't know me, I'm Brian McLeod. I've lived in Coonamoo and Cobram for the last 20 years, and I've been Jo's partner for the last 18 months. Most of you here today would not have known we have been in this relationship, as we have been quite discreet in respect to our previous partners. Mainly only family and close friends knew. I'm not sure where to start here, so I'll start at the beginning. Wendy, my wife of 45 years, and I have known Graham and Jo, who were together for 35 years. We've known them for 14 to 15 years. Graham was a friend and workmate of mine, and Jo and Wendy were workmates at Irvine House. Wendy held Jo in very high regard. I recall the first time I ever saw Jo was around 17, 18 years ago. Wendy and I were watching Sarah playing netball, Sarah, our daughter, playing netball at Yarrawea. I said to Sarah after the game, "Who's that woman that played in the centre? She knows what she's doing." Sarah said, "That's Jo McDowall." I didn't know at that stage she had played with Melbourne Vixens years earlier. They won the flag that year. Our only main connection was years later with music trivia at various houses with 3 or 4 other couples. Graham then got ill and was diagnosed with various cancers which then became terminal cancer. Wendy and I would visit quite often to talk to Graham and Jo and hopefully comfort and reassure them both. Then, unbelievably, not long after, Wendy was diagnosed with terminal brain cancer. We both had huge battles on our hands. After Graham passed, and Wendy only passed 3 months later, Jo, familiar with the grief she was going through, knew what I was experiencing. So about 4 months after Wendy passed, we occasionally caught up with each other to talk fondly about each other's partners and just make sure each other was coping. This occasional catch-up became a couple of times a week, both comforting each other with memories in our grief. Over the next couple of months, we both realised we really enjoyed each other's company and looked forward to seeing each other, both still confused and unsure and feeling guilt that maybe this was too soon. But the big question is, when is too soon too soon when you connect with someone mentally and emotionally? It was at this stage I was taking my daughter Sarah and her 4 children on a 2-week cruise to New Zealand, and Jo was taking her 2 daughters and grandchildren on their yearly family holiday for 1 week. At this point I said to Jo, this will be a good test for what we feel for each other. If we don't miss each other that much over 2 weeks, it's not meant to be. If we miss each other terribly, we'll know for sure. And of course it was the latter. It was from this point we formed a deep mental and emotional connection where we wanted and needed to see each other practically every day. From here, our relationship grew stronger and stronger over the months, realising we had so much in common, much more than we knew. We were both very competitive. Nearly everything we did became a competition. We both loved our sport, and more than anything, we both loved our music. Always challenging each other who was first to name the artist or band singing the song on the radio or her favourite playlist. We travelled to many music concerts over the area, Mawala, RSL, many times, Shepparton, Echuca, Wangaratta, Melbourne and Ballarat. Jo's love of music always had her doing what she loved most, singing and dancing. After being with Jo for about 6 months and realising her whole life was about making everyone else's life happy, I knew then I had to love her and spoil her rotten and give to her like she was giving to everyone else. She found that uncomfortable at first, accepting, but realised over the months that was what a true, deep, loving relationship was. Each partner giving their all to each other. At around this time, in one of our many late-night in-depth conversations, Jo asked me the ultimate question. What do you love about me most? I replied without too much hesitation, darling, I love everything about you. Your smile melts me to butter, but above all, I love your beautiful, big, caring, warm heart. It was around this time Jo and I decided we wanted to do a few trips away for a day or two. She didn't want to be away from her girls or grandchildren any longer than that. And I totally respected that, as this had been her life for so long, and they needed her so much. We went to Rutherglen, Nagambie, Ballarat, Echuca, Melbourne a few times, and Bright 3 or 4 times. This was our favourite destination, especially around this time of year. Such a beautiful drive across there. Well, we also did a trip across to Perth for 5 days to see Jo's youngest son, Sean, as he needed to see his mum. I know she helped him a lot emotionally at this time. It was not long after I convinced Jo to come to Europe with me for nearly a month, as my daughter over there had some serious medical issues with her youngest, and Jo could help her with some good advice. This was a huge step for her and our relationship. We stayed with my daughter and her 3 children in the Netherlands. My daughter Kristen showed us so much of the Netherlands: Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Germany and Belgium. Jo and I also flew across from there to Edinburgh, Scotland, for a couple of days. She loved the bagpipes and the military tattoo. This was a wonderful time, just us, discovering a city we both loved, relaxing, romantic and beautiful memories. Don't get me wrong, Jo and I weren't totally the same. She was wild, vivacious, spontaneous, loud, loved a good time and loved to talk. I think she could talk underwater with a mouthful of marbles. I was more reserved, also spontaneous and loved a good time, but was also a good listener. Maybe that's why it worked for us. We would often sit and talk for hours and bounce ideas and opposing thoughts off each other after she got home from work. But one thing I do know for sure, we both had the same morals and principles in life. A massive step for Jo was that we booked an 80-day world cruise for next year. Of course, her girls and grandkids would miss her terribly and she would miss them, but this was something Jo felt she wanted and needed to do for herself. But she did intend to talk to them every night. This trip would have been great for Jo and us both. It would have definitely consolidated us. We were so much looking forward to this. What a shame. I recall a conversation with her one late night after work and asked her, "Do you think we are seeing each other too much?" I just needed to know her thoughts. Her response was, "I look forward to seeing you. I look forward to seeing you when I get home from work with a coffee waiting for me. And you're the first person I want to see every morning and the last person I want to see at night. And I couldn't imagine my life without you." That was great to hear. We were on the same wavelength. Jo adored my 2 little black pups, sisters. They're 3-year-old. We would walk them 5 to 10 kilometres every morning along the river when she had the day off or she was working late shift. Once again, challenges all along the way, throwing rocks at logs in the river 50 metres away or just counting koalas in Quinn Island. She turned my 2 fit little buggers into fat little fuckers. Once again, spoiling and overfeeding them. But this was her. Over the last 12 months, we have done a few trips on a sunny day in my old convertible, up through Rutherglen, Beechworth, Yakandanda, through the mountains, and of course Jo was dressed for the occasion. Sun hat, scarf, sunglasses, and dressing appropriately. She really looked the part. As touched on earlier, Jo and I loved our sport. We played golf, mini-golf, bowls, pool, quite a few games of tennis and hundreds of games of table tennis at my house, which she loved. As usual, very competitive, which I loved. I vividly recall a brief conversation with Jo very early in our relationship, asking her what she wanted in life. She replied, "I don't want much. All I need is to be loved and needed." This sums up Jo to a T, giving her all to her work, her family, her friends, everyone, and expecting nothing in return. My biggest sadness and regret is that we couldn't spend another 10 to 20 years together, and I would have spoilt her even more. I'm so sad for you, darling. The beautiful person you are, you deserved a long, relaxed and contented life well into your 80s. Jo didn't just love her own family, she loved mine as well. As mentioned earlier, Kristen's daughter's illness in Europe. Another daughter, Sarah, had a serious medical issue. A couple of years ago, Jo travelled to Melbourne on 3 occasions for emotional support and advice. Once after a 12-hour night shift, straight in the car with no sleep, so selfless. I've had one beautiful soulmate, Wendy. I'm not sure whether you can have 2 soulmates in life, but this felt like it was heading in the right direction in time to come. Jo and I poured so much time and effort to make this relationship work. As we both thought it may be our last chance at true happiness. Unbelievably, as it turns out, it was. What a tragedy. Finally, this is such a cruel blow for you, Jo. After the stress and heartache of Graham's illness over the last 5 years, we have put a bounce back in each other's step, found happiness, look forward to every day and the future so much. Your life deserved much, much more, much, much better. Jo, this was supposed to be your time. Oh, darling, what could have and should have been.
Thank you, Brian, for those heartfelt words. I'd now ask Jo's daughters, Beck, Taryn and Chloe, to step forward and tell us more about their mum's life.
Am I saying anything? Liz. My name was on my thing. He's going first. No, Please.
Your smile always kept me going, even in the hard times. You taught me things even I didn't know I was capable of. Whenever I was down and needed someone to talk to, you were always there for me and would always listen. Every time I would stay at your house, whether it was 5 p.m. or midnight, you would always say yes to whatever I asked, even if it was stupid. You were the first person I met to not tell me because I said so. Through all the pain we feel, we'll work together until we heal. The best things in life come and go, and you were one of the best things I could ever have in my life. You were the best man I could ever have, and no one, and I mean no one, could ever replace you. I love you so much, and I miss you so much. I think about you every day, and you will always have a place in my heart. Thank you for being an awesome nan and giving me one of the best things I could ever have in my life. You. Love you. Thank you.
Do you want me to stand out there and not use the microphone, honey, so people can see you?
No, it's okay. Can you even see?
What's the microphone?
Go. She always spoke her mind. Sometimes her mind was filled about thoughts of work or family or having a smoke. She would most likely put other people before herself. She's a beautiful woman. She's probably up in heaven dancing with her husband, singing lyrics like old times. I remember one of her favourites, Pretty Woman by Roy Orbison. She's talented, always had always had time for a quick clean of everything except the fridge. Some of her friends who might be here right now or couldn't attend are Sharon, Nikki and so on. If I named everyone, we would be here a while. I remember playing footy in the car park next door, dancing and singing to songs from morning to night. It felt like never-ending happiness. When I was told the news, I didn't believe it and I'm sure we all cried. She was a wonderful nan, sister, mum, friend, cousin and so on. Her memory will always remain in a strong place in our hearts. Thank you.
First of all, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today. We really appreciate the love and support we've had over the last 2 weeks on Mum's passing. We definitely didn't think we'd be up here so soon after Dad dying, but yeah, apparently the universe had other thoughts for us, so see how we go. Jo-Anne McDowall, or known to most as Jo, or Noisy Jr., was born in Tongala on the 8th of June 1964 to Noel and Shirley McDowall. Mum was the youngest of 9 children, and it definitely worked in her favour. Some would say Mum didn't have to walk until she was 2 because there was simply no need to. She rarely got into trouble for doing anything wrong, even when she pushed Nan out the bedroom window when she was 14 years old. When Mum was 2, the family moved to Stokes Avenue, which remained the family home for many years. Even now, Chloe, Les and the kids still call it home, and that made Mum incredibly happy. A 3-bedroom house for a family of 11 required a fair bit of shuffling. Mum shared a room with 3 of her siblings at one point, including sharing a bed with Auntie Shaz, which I'm sure tested everyone involved. Growing up, Mum was known for pushing boundaries, being witted and inheriting her father's loud nature. Her childhood involved many trips to Echuca with her siblings and a family game of guessing every creek along the way, something Mum could still do as an adult. She attended Cobram Primary School and later Cobram High, where her love for sport became obvious. Mum would play absolutely anything: netball, basketball, football, tennis, indoor cricket. If there was a competition involved, she was there. That competitive streak stayed with Mum forever. Mum became Victoria's first female Level 3 rugby coach. It suited her perfectly because no one ever accused her of being gentle on a sporting field. We only recently just joked about how she played indoor cricket right up until she was 38 weeks pregnant with Taryn. Apparently not even childbirth was a good enough excuse to miss a game. Mum had the biggest competitive face you could ever imagine. I'm sure there are people here today who played against her in netball and seriously considered forfeiting to avoid a broken bone or a black eye. As a teenager, Mum was a classic tomboy. She loved kicking the footy with her brothers and was never afraid to go in for a hard tackle. That short, fiery temper definitely helped. Mum also took up smoking as a teenager, which was made easier by having parents and older siblings who smoked. One night, while washing the dishes, she decided to make Nan and Pop a cup of tea so she could sneak one of their smokes. Nan and Pop accepted, but Nan knew immediately Mum was up to no good. Sure enough, Nan walked into the kitchen to find Mum at the sink, washing the dishes with a cigarette in hand and the longest ash you'd ever seen. Mum quickly dropped it into the sink to hide the evidence, but Nan was far too smart for her. Somehow, though, Mum still didn't get into trouble off Pop. A lot of Mum's teenager years involved nights at the top pub and regular police trips home for underage drinking. One particular night, she even tipped an entire bottle of bubbles into the local water fountain in town. Safe to say there were bubbles coming from the fountain for weeks to come. Mum found her true calling at just 20 years old when she welcomed Troy into the world and became a mother for the first time. Sean followed 2 years later, then Taryn another 2 years after that. Mum moved back home to help Nan care for Pop during his illness. This was countless trips up and down the highway for treatments and many days spent caring for him at home. It was this that later on inspired Mum to become a nurse. Then in 1989, while walking up the street past her house, Mum and Dad had their first real encounter. Dad said to Troy and Sean, "Make sure you buy me a chocolate bar," as they walked past. Apparently they carried on so much that Mum finally gave in and brought Dad one. As she walked back past the house, Mum threw the chocolate bar at Dad and said, "Here's your chocolate bar, arsehole. I hope you choke." And somehow that was the beginning of a 35-year love story. Mum moved in with Dad and his boys, Dennis, Keith, Corey and Michael, just a few houses down from Nan and Pop, which made life easy for everyone involved. Not long after I came along, outgrowing the family house, they brought another house a few doors down in Waitson Street, which remained the family home. A year after moving, Chloe was born. Chloe recalls having separation issues from Mum, which was to be expected being the baby of the family. Mum even breastfed Chloe till she was 6 years old. It's like a walk-up milk bar. Mum stayed home raising us while Dad worked. She absolutely loved us being involved in sport, although we didn't always like her coming to watch. She yelled from the sidelines so much that sometimes we would question whether she was barragging for us or the opposition. Taryn recalls Mum's loud, echoing voice during her sporting games and well after. She knew where Mum was on the sideline long before she saw her. One time Sean got knocked out playing footy for Yarrawee. Before the umpire had even stopped the game, Mum was already sprinting across the field. Honestly, I still think she was secretly hoping the ball would bounce her way so she could get a kick in. Troy's love for sports was encouraged and supported by Mum. He remembers many trips with Mum to all the different sports he played, with Mum being his number one supporter, that loud, echoing voice once again shining through while she watched him. Troy definitely inherited Mum's aggression when playing any sport. Growing up, Mum was also known for being a bit of a hothead and her love for the wooden spoon. Us kids remember sitting on the opposite side of the bench annoying Mum, which we did so well. Mum would give us this look and we knew we had exactly 5 seconds to get out of there. Out the back door we would run, with Mum chasing us, holding the world's biggest spoon we'd ever seen. Luckily for us, we inherited Mum's fast speed and she could never catch us. Mum also had a love-hate relationship with the home driveway. A big fence made it hard to see anyone that was coming. Numerous times Mum would come inside to tell Dad she'd just hit a kid on their bike as they rode past, like this was normal to do. We all believed Mum's true calling was being a mum until the grandkids plus fur babies come along. All of a sudden the rules that we had as kids were out the window. Mum loved spoiling the kids and the word no was never spoken. The kids just adored their nanny and all she had to offer. We were so grateful the kids got to have the best nan in the world, and I'm sure her traits will live on through them. Mum unfortunately didn't get to meet Miss Bonnie, but she will know how amazing her nan was through all the stories and photos we have. Dennis has lots of stories of Mum, but also none he can share publicly, as because there was a lot of law breaking and swearing involved in true Mum style. Once us kids started school, Mum became a nurse, and what a nurse she was. For 28 years she worked across Yumurka, Yarrawonga and Cobram, eventually finding her true place at Irvine House. Her loud, crazy, caring personality was absolutely perfect for the residents. Maybe not always management, especially after a few cups of tea, as Mum liked to call them. In fact, Mum was actually on good behaviour at the time of her passing, something she would have found absolutely hilarious. Mum was known for playing pranks on anyone and everyone that came to Irvine House, even playing many pranks on Brian Walsh when he would attend Irvine House. I'll leave this up to everyone's imagination, but I'm sure it's safe to say that Mum nearly made him shit himself a few times. I was lucky enough to work alongside Mum for the last 16 years. It definitely had its perks, especially whenever there was a shitty job, literally to do. Mum would happily jump in and do it for me. I'm so grateful I got to work alongside Mum. She shaped me today to be the nurse I am, or how I'm going to miss working with my partner in crime. She had the biggest heart when it came to caring for people. She was known for her in-house concerts, dress-ups that everyone got dragged into whether they liked it or not, and her love for blasting music while she worked. You always knew exactly where Mum was because the music was pumping long before you saw her. She loved dancing and singing, although if we're being honest, she was a much stronger dancer than singer. Music was her life. It played constantly at home and in the car, outside and at work. When Mum and Dad started rock and rolling, she was completely in her element, collecting enough rock and roll outfits to fill 2 cupboards, and most of these still have their tags on them. Every weekend was spent travelling to rock and roll dances and meeting lots of new people. After they stopped rock and rolling, the kitchen floor, or in later years, the cemetery became the new dance floor. When Dad became sick, Mum stopped everything to care for him and made sure he could spend his final days at home. Losing Dad 2 years ago absolutely broke her heart. She missed her tubby terribly. Mum and Dad were longtime friends with Brian and Wendy, who sadly passed away not long after Dad. Mum and Brian found support and comfort in each other, and Mum's spark was coming back. Many trips, laughs and adventures were had together, including a trip over to the Netherlands and Scotland, which Mum had always wanted to do. Brian showed Mum all the good things to get up to while over there, which had Mum talking about this trip for ages afterwards. Mum's love for music was a trait Brian also shared. This led to a lot of late nights and endless drinks and smoke sitting at the back under the heater, and we're grateful for Brian for giving Mum all this. Wednesday the 13th was a magical day for Mum, Chloe, Violet and I in Yarrawonga. We went shopping, had lunch and drinks, visited the op shop, picked ridiculous outfits for each other and proudly walked around Yarrawonga wearing them. Mum was in her element. She even suggested going to pick the kids up from school dressed like that, but we were concerned she would end up on Cobram 3644. That night, she had a quiet evening with Brian before going to bed. Mum sadly passed away unexpectedly in the early hours of Thursday morning. Mum's last words ever said to me were, "Thank you for such a fun day out, darling. We'll need to do it again. Love you." If I'd known that would have been the last conversation I would have said a million more things. Instead, all I said was, "Another op shop day, right?" And she just laughed with that belly laugh that you can hear from the other end of the supermarket. That moment will stay in my heart forever. Mum, you were vibrant. You could walk into the darkest room and light it up instantly. People smiled when they saw you. You made people laugh without even trying. You had a heart of gold and would move heaven and earth for anyone, even if it meant going without yourself. If love and appreciation could have kept you here, you would have lived forever. We were all heartbroken and still expect you to walk through the door at any moment, but we know you're back with Dad now, which gives us a lot of comfort. In true Mum style, and a wish I'm sure she would be proud of, we'll have one more shot for you, old girl. Rest peacefully, Mum. We'll love you in this lifetime and the next.
Are we doing one minute? Oh, there we are. Brian, come on.
Because only Mum could get away with us having a shot in a church.
Alright. Cheers, motherfuckers.
Cheers, Mum.
Thanks, Brian. Well done. It's not a bad aftertaste. Yes.
Mind you, it sounds like it's my turn to cover for Jo. I'll pretend that was sacramental wine. See if I get away with that one. Look, to follow off those beautiful memories of Jo, we've now got some photos, some sweet, some crazy, but that was Jo. A little bit sweet, a little bit crazy, and just beautiful all the time. So.
Everything. She loves to move, she loves to groove, she loves a lot of things. All night, oh, every night. So
Those photos remind us that what we must remember today, that we're here today, not because Jo-Anne has died, but because she lived, and during her time on earth she shared her life with us. And although her life has been cut short, it was filled with love, laughter and adventure. I would ask you now to cast your minds back to your own memories of Jo as we listen to a reflection song in memory of Jo. Please listen to the words as they have special significance to Jo's family. Attention. I've just scribbled out a couple of bits on my sheet because I can feel Jo-Anne's eyes burning into the back of my head saying, we've been here long enough, time to get this show on the road. So with that, we've shortened the service at the tail end and she'll be pleased with that. But may we rejoice in Jo's life, be thankful that her life touched on ours, surround us and all that mourn today with continuing compassion. Do not let grief be without end or overwhelm us, but rather draw us closer together in friendship and love. And I'd now like to finish this part of the service for Jo with the words of the following verse. It's called Miss Me, But Let Me Go. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Miss me a little, but not too long, and not with your head bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey that we all must take, and each must take alone. It's all a part of the Master's plan, a step on the road to home. So when you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know, and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. Now I'd ask the casket bearers to step forward as shortly we carry Jo's coffin out to the hearse in preparation for a final journey to the Cobram cemetery. Now, those of you who want to come out to the cemetery, you're most welcome. And following the service at the cemetery, you're warmly invited to the Cobram Bowling Club to share refreshments, but more importantly, your memories of Jo. If you could all stand.
Dream, 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 dream. Dream, dream, dream when I want you. In my arms when I want you. And all your charms whenever I want you. All I have to do is dream. Dream, dream, dream when I feel blue. In the
Welcome again. We are gathered here at the cemetery to pay our final respects to Jo. We're here to celebrate her life, to reflect and give thanks for her life, and to acknowledge our own grief, and for the purpose of extending our deepest sympathy to all who mourn her death. The memories you have of Jo are like the stars in the night skies. Each memory flickers brightly in your minds, defying time, taking us back to the instant the event occurred. We can see the stars and we can look at our memories, but the stars, like Jo, are out of our reach. Trying to count memories is like trying to count the stars. There will always be one more memory to relive, one more star to count. Jo, you'll be forever in the memories of all who knew and loved you. And it is with this final goodbye to you that all of us here say, we will remember you until we meet again. But it is now time to take a leave of Jo, whom we'll always remember with great warmth and appreciation. We return to our daily lives, resolved to follow her example of courage and sharing, to live our lives more fully with the same integrity and purpose, cheerfulness and love. From the midst of our proud mourning, we leave this service knowing that love is never changed by death, that nothing is ever lost by death, and the end is the harvest of a new beginning. Today, we lift up our hearts in gratitude for the life of Jo, for all the goodness bestowed upon her during her life, for all that she was to those who loved her, and for everything in her life that reflected goodness and love. Help us to be confident, to release her, to accept her death in the same way we accepted her life, and to enjoy every day to the full, never holding back on what we believe to be our course in life. May we rejoice in Jo's life, be thankful that her life touched on ours, surround us and all that mourn today with continuing compassion. Do not let grief be without end or overwhelm us, but rather draw us closer together in friendship and love. And now we come to the committal, remembering that death is not extinguishing the light, it's only putting out the lamp because the dawn has come. We are grateful for the life that Jo has lived and for all that her life has meant to us. So tenderly and reverently, we commit the body of our beloved Jo to the elements from which all life comes, and in the end, all life returns. And now for some final words. As we look back over time and thinking of Jo, we find ourselves wondering, did we remember to thank you enough for all you've done for us, for the times you were by our sides to help and support us, to celebrate our successes, to understand our problems and accept our defeats, or for teaching us by your example the value of hard work, good judgment, courage and integrity. We wonder if we thanked you for the sacrifices you made to let us have the very best, and for the simple things like laughter, smiles, hugs, and the things we shared. If we've forgotten to show our gratitude enough for the things you did, we're thanking you now, Jo, and we hope you knew all along, how much we loved you and how much you meant to us. So once again, Jo, you will be forever in the memories of all who knew and loved you, and it is with this final goodbye that all of us here say, we will remember you until we meet again. Now that concludes the committal service for Jo. Please feel free to walk around and share your memories with each other as we listen to Swing the Mood by Jive Bunny. Now, if you've ever danced with Jo, you probably recognise the tune and the words, and she'd be hopping away and bopping, and it's a beautiful song to remember her by. I'd also like to warmly invite you back to the bowling club, where you can share refreshments, but more importantly, your memories and stories of Jo with each other. Thank you.
What's wrong with me? I'm itching like a man on a Friday.